This is the best monster horror genre movie. Just released on CGV theaters in March 2024. About a young woman inherits a rundown bar, and discovers a dark secret. Inside its basement, Baghead, a shape-shifting creature, allows you to talk to lost loved ones. Without further ado, let's start the story right here. The bar owner also makes a lot of money because of this, not knowing that a horrifying plot was approaching. That day, this man Neil came to the bar. Saw that the bar owner didn't care about his presence. Neil immediately threw out $2,000 and said, Neil wants to meet a deceased woman who is his wife. The bar owner, Owen Lark, was also very strange that day. Not only did he not accept money from Neil, on the contrary, he angrily chased him out of the bar. Owen seemed to sense something. He took some sedatives, then recorded a video. A few minutes later, the innkeeper was immediately covered in fire, rolled over and crawled out of the basement. Not long after, the innkeeper was paralyzed on the floor. A few days later, in a faraway country, Iris Lark received a phone call informing her that her father, Mr. Owen, had passed away. The police department asked her to return quickly to claim her father's body. So that same night, she got on the plane to return. But when she saw her father's body, and didn't feel sad at all, because when she was young she was abandoned by her father, and she has no feelings for her father in name only. However, just as she was about to leave, was stopped by a man. The man said he was the lawyer representing Iris' father. Came for Iris to sign the inheritance transfer papers. Then, the lawyer brought Iris over the bar her father left behind. The lawyer said that this bar seems a bit old, but actually it has more than 500 years of history. Iris started looking around, and saw pictures hanging all over the walls. It seemed like these people were all previous owners of the bar. Go forever, go forever. I saw burn marks on the floor. I looked up and found myself at the end of the hallway. There is a wooden door leading to the basement. The inside seems to be full of secrets, making Iris wary. At that moment, the lawyer immediately approached to calm her spirit. Then the lawyer took out an ancient inheritance form, and told her to just sign her name on it. Then this house will belong to Iris. Iris didn't think much at that time. Even if the property is free, it should not be refused. Selling it can also make a big profit. So she immediately swung her pen, and sign your name on the contract. Did not know that this action was his. Will bring unexpected consequences for her. Next, the lawyer said he would come tomorrow to deliver the keys, and told Iris to stay here for one night. However, as soon as she fell asleep, the alarm clock at midnight 12 o'clock suddenly rang. Iris suddenly woke up, and she could also hear the vague sounds of people moving about from downstairs. So she mustered up her courage. Turn on your phone's flash and go downstairs, and shouted loudly, but no one responded. After that, Iris immediately turned on the hallway light leading to the basement. She kept her eyes glued to the wooden door in front. Found out that the noise seemed to come from inside. She carefully approached the door. Stick your ear to the door and listen carefully. Realize that the noise is indeed coming from within. She wanted to open the door but couldn't open it. Just when she was confused and didn't understand what was going on, suddenly a dark shadow appeared behind her. This made her feel insecure immediately. When Iris went to the living room, suddenly, this really scared Iris. She quickly picked up the bottle of wine and shouted for the other person to stay away from her. The man said his name was Neil and was not a bad person. He said he just wanted to see his deceased wife again. Iris also thinks he has mental problem. What are you doing here looking for a wife? After a simple conversation. After learning that Iris is the new owner of this place, he immediately took out a wad of money from his pocket and placed it on the counter. Iris asked again where his wife was. Neil says the woman in the basement can help him meet his wife. Seeing Iris still didn't believe it, he took out $2,000 from his pocket, and said he had been here before, but was rejected by his father. Neil also swears to God that he is not crazy. Neil says everything is true, and hopes Iris can help him realize this wish. Although Iris still felt it was unreasonable. But after seeing the pile of dollars on the table, she was still intrigued. After taking the money, she said she didn't have the key right now. Wait until she gets the key tomorrow before calling Neil over. After Neil left, she, who had never seen so much money, was immediately indescribably happy. It's true that if you don't work, you can still eat. Seeing that, Iris immediately called her best friend to tell about how easy it was for her to make money. After listening, her best friend immediately knew that Iris was about to become a billionaire in the future. And without hesitation, she drove over immediately. After meeting my best friend, Iris also told her about her agreement with the man. But her best friend is a bit worried about Iris. But Iris didn't consider it a big deal. Anyway, she got the money. Furthermore, she also wanted to see what was in the basement. The next day, Neil arrived here very on time. Iris took the key and opened the door directly. Door leading to the basement. Strangely enough, after going inside. Inside is empty, nothing at all. There are only 2 chairs in the middle. And there was a black hole in the wall. Neil stepped forward and called out to the person inside. But there was no reaction. At this moment, Neil seemed to remember something. He told Iris to try calling. Then, Iris spoke to the black hole. If there's anyone inside, come out here. Sure enough, not long after, a pitch-black hand reached out from inside. And on his head was a sack. My best friend saw this scene and was startled. I quickly went to tell Iris to leave here quickly. But Iris stood there, looking like she was curious about this, and Neil spoke very calmly to the other person. I need your help. Help me summon my deceased wife, to have a final farewell to her. But the stranger ignored Neil's word. Go directly towards Iris again. Seeing that, her best friend immediately picked up the wrench and told her to stay away from Iris. Iris also quickly said not to come close to me. But I didn't expect Iris's words to actually be effective. The stranger stood still and did not move. It seems that this monster only obeys Iris's orders. Seeing that, Iris told it to stay back. Sure enough, the monster stepped back. Neil felt extremely happy again. He tells Iris to tell the monster to sit down in a chair. Iris immediately started giving orders. The monsters also followed suit. He then bent down and made a request to the monster, wanting to see his deceased wife again, only to see the monster holding out his terrifying hand. Next, Neil took out his wife's ring when she was alive from his pocket. Place it in your opponent's hand. After receiving the ring, the monster immediately removed the mask, then opened his mouth as big as a toilet, and swallowed the ring like a small cake. Soon the monster let out a terrifying roar. Neil suddenly remembered something. Quickly tell Iris to tie the monster to the chair. Iris was afraid to move forward. Tell Neil to go tie it up. Iris retreated to her best friend's side, ready to run away quickly. Neil had just finished tying up the monster, only to see the monster begin to howl like a pig being killed, causing Neil to panic and quickly step back. The next second, its black hand began to deform. In the blink of an eye, it became a normal pink hand. Neil knew he had succeeded. He happily went to open his hood. But the result made him even more unbelievable. The monster did not turn into his wife, but turned into the person he didn't want to meet the most. That's his mother. He quickly turned away and asked Iris to give him another chance. At this moment, the mother behind recognized her son's voice. The reason Neil hates his mother so much. It's because when I was young, his mother chose to abandon him and end her life in the bathtub. From then on, Neil hated his mother to the core. He couldn't understand what was going on. More important than my son. If it weren't for her, he wouldn't have become an orphan. Mom also feels very regretful about everything that happened to Neil. And sitting there started crying loudly. Right at this moment, the wall behind suddenly flowed a stream of black liquid. The next second, Mother suddenly raised her head. With a cold expression, it seemed like he had changed into someone else. Then she said something that shocked Neil even more. The truth is, I cannot bear the sight of you. It was you who destroyed my life. Dear child, is this statement difficult to accept, my dear? I never wanted to become a mother. Seeing him felt like a burden. Neil, since childhood you never wanted to kiss me. Now I have my biggest wish. That's the hope of receiving a kiss from you. He still owes this mother a kiss. Listen to what your mother says. Neil was a little scared. When she saw her mother, her lips were as small as cherries, causing Neil to panic and turn around and run away. But when he turned around, Mom suddenly disappeared and was never seen again. He started looking around. Suddenly, the mother quickly pushed her son to the ground. Then a lot of water sprayed out from his mouth and had a very foul smell. Fortunately, Iris promptly ordered it to stop. Neil just escaped a disaster. After that, Iris immediately ran to get the cloth bag to cover her head from the ground, and put it on the other person's head. The stranger calmed down. Next, Iris ordered him to return to the black hole. The stranger was very reluctant to turn around. However, when the creature reached the edge of the hole, she stopped walking, turned her head to look at Iris, then turned around and walked inside. And Iris quickly went out of the basement and locked the door. But Neil really doesn't want to go. He said what he wanted to see was his deceased wife, not his mother. He wants to try again. This time he will pay double, just to say goodbye to my wife. Hearing this, Iris was a little confused. His wife has passed away. Even if I call her out to meet her again, what's the use? Hearing these words from Iris, Neil also remained silent. He then threw one of his business cards on the table. Tell Iris that if she changes her mind, she can contact him at any time. After Neil left, Iris plays the videotape her father left behind. As a result, her father also revealed the secret about the basement. Her father said she only needed Iris to sign her name on the house contract. Then the monsters in the basement will only obey Iris's orders. That monster has the ability to communicate with the deceased. But it can only last for 2 minutes. But there's a catch. If the monster communicates with the soul more times, then his ability becomes stronger. Will eventually escape Iris's control. And become Iris's master. Even if you want to sell this place, you can't. Iris's father didn't have to try to escape. As a result, monster souls frequently appear beside him, tormenting him, until you get back to the bar. And her father also warned Iris 3 times. Definitely don't step into a black hole. Definitely stay away from black holes. It's best if you can't summon a monster, then don't summon it. That way nothing will happen to her. Just manage this bar well. This is also the reason he sent his daughter away for 20 years. Hearing this, Iris also completely understood. It turns out her father didn't abandon her. It's to protect her. Iris finally understood everything. It turns out that I have misunderstood my father for more than 20 years. After being sad, she thought again that her father had been summoning monsters for 20 years before having a problem. I've only used it a few times, so I can't be that unlucky. Furthermore, making money from this is really fast. And she also promised her best friend, once they finish this job, they will immediately give up doing it again. Thus, my best friend also suffered from Iris, and those coins make convincing. He also said he would stay for a few days to accompany Iris, to ensure safety. She deliberately wrote the word "do not pass this place" on the stairs, then turned around and spoke to the monster inside. I am your master now. I order you not to step over here. Let alone leave this cellar. But there was no response from the monster. Only a horrifying scream rang out. Then she hung the door key around her neck. Then leave the cellar. Who would have thought that the writing on the last step actually saved her life? By the next day, she followed the address Neil left to his house. Neil says that Iris's father always makes money through this. Been doing this for 20 years. After listening, Iris became even more convinced. She told herself that calling up again would definitely be okay. After that, Iris and Neil went to the cellar again. Once again summon the monster and tie it to the chair. Next, Neil gives his wife's necklace to the monster. The monster immediately swallowed it whole. Iris was standing next to count the time. When Neil took off his hood. Indeed, it's his wife. His wife looked very confused. He asked Neil where this was. Husband did not have time to explain. Hastily asked his wife what happened when she died. His wife just remembered that she died in a car accident. When Neil saw his wife crying, keep telling her to calm down. Watching time pass minute by minute, Neil asked again. On the day of the accident, she was planning to drive to meet someone. Hearing these words, his wife immediately calmed down. It turns out Neil didn't want to see his wife to say goodbye one last time. It's that he suspects his wife is having an affair. Seeing my husband moved, wife hastily explained that she didn't have one. At this time the alarm suddenly rang. 2 minutes had passed. Neil didn't get the answer he wanted. He still doesn't want to give up. He saw his wife's face begin to change. Iris quickly wanted to put the hat on her head. But unexpectedly, the chair moved back a bit to show resistance. The next second, a white light flashed past. The image of his wife having a car accident appeared again. When Iris looked back, his wife left the chair, huddled in the corner crying, saying she absolutely did not want to die. Iris carefully approached the woman step by step. Just as she was about to reach out to cover the burlap sack, then Neil's wife suddenly changed her terrifying, extremely disgusting form. Next, that person made Iris fall to the ground. Iris wanted to stop. But the result was that the monster covered her mouth and prevented her from calling out to stop. Luckily, Iris knows how to talk with her belly. The freak finally let go. After Iris breathed a sigh of relief, she spoke. I am your master. You must obey me. You don't understand why. We are all prisoners. However, just as the monster was about to step inside, it suddenly stopped. Turned her head to look back at Iris. This really scared her. The man tore his mask in front of his daughter. As a result, a cloth bag appeared in front of Iris to cover her head. Seeing that, Iris immediately attacked the opponent. She asked what the other person did to her father. Unexpectedly, the person who felt pain when strangling the other person was himself. The more force she exerted, the more pain she felt. Iris suddenly thought of something. Hastily took off the bag covering the other person's head. When she saw the face inside, she was even more surprised. Inside, you are exactly the same. Iris suddenly woke up. It turned out to be just a dream. But this time, the keychain was around his neck. Grabbed her neck again. It left her unable to breathe. Scared, Iris rushed to the bathroom to cut it off with scissors. But I didn't expect that the scissors would fall to the ground. My friend heard the noise and rushed to see. Seeing Iris lying on the ground struggling in pain, She immediately ran to pick up the scissors and cut the rope. Iris just escaped a disaster. Thought everything was fine. But come night, Iris once again entered the dream. This time she saw her father. What happened the night before he passed away? Only to see that my father used a stranger to summon the soul of his deceased mother. Mother has been summoned. She heard the conversation between the two. Just learned that her father was terminally ill. His time is running out. He wanted to see his wife one last time before she died. Then destroy this place yourself. Now 2 minutes have passed. The alarm bell rings. He also said his final goodbye to his wife. Owen's wife asks if he still remembers when he left last time. Since you returned. The curse was brought back at the same time. Only when she is free can everything be over. But the man said he had a better way. He just poured a lot of strong alcohol around his wife. He wanted to die at the same time as the monster. The wife was now scared. She said nervously, "I'm your wife, you can't do that." But in Owen's heart, he knew very well. The person talking to him is not his wife. My wife died a long time ago. This person standing before my eyes is a monster. Just burn down both the bar and the monsters. It will all end. The curse will also be broken. At that time, my daughter will also be safe. However, right at the moment he was about to take out his lighter, the light bulb suddenly exploded. He quickly lit the fire. But his wife stood in front of him with a smile on her face. She still gently caressed the man's cheek with her hand. The man immediately panicked. His hands trembled, the lighter immediately fell to the ground. Only the man's cry of pain could be heard. Meanwhile, the wife stood in the middle of the fire unharmed. Just like that, Mr. Owen passed away forever. Iris finally learns the cause of her father's death. The next day, Iris's best friend became more and more afraid the more she thought about it, so she rolled the gas canister to the door to block it. The result was right when she turned around and was about to leave. The picture frame on the wall suddenly fell to the ground. I just saw her passing by, bent down and pulled the photo out from there. This is probably hinting at something. Flip it over and discover a line of text. Searched online and discovered that it was a person's name. And also found that person's address. However, at the exact moment she turned off the computer, suddenly, a man suddenly appeared. The person in front of you is the person in the photo. She quickly took out her stick to defend herself. But when she looked back, that person disappeared again and was never seen again. Then, she told Iris what she learned. She said that the person in the photo was the first person to own this place, and the other lawyer. Then, she took Iris to the lawyer's office, but discovers that the lawyer seems to have disappeared. All of this is so strange. And what's even stranger is, the photo was taken 100 years ago. This also proves that this lawyer has big problems. Furthermore, you almost fainted because of the necklace in the bathroom. If you continue to stay here, we'll most likely end up like Iris's father. But she didn't think so. She said she was now afraid of poverty. She also said that her best friend since childhood lived in good family conditions, and completely unable to understand the taste of poverty. Compared to poverty, any curse or monster is not scary. Because she doesn't want to continue being poor anymore. She wants to rely on this monster to make a large sum of money. Her best friend also completely didn't know what to say. Going downstairs means preparing to leave without paying attention to Iris. But just as I was about to drive to leave, she really didn't feel safe leaving Iris alone, so she decided to go to the old house to see. Can find a way to break the curse. She kicked off a wooden plank and walked in. The inside of the house is old and dilapidated. And you can see a lot on the wall. Newspapers and some old photos. She quickly stuffed all the newspapers and photos into her bag. Meanwhile, Iris once again went to the basement and summoned a monster. She gave her father's keepsake to the monster man. The monster swallowed it and let out a terrible cry. Seeing that, Iris immediately started counting the time. He then took off his mask. The monster also transformed into her father's form. Her father gasped and was very surprised. He asked Iris why she was here. He remembers burning the place down. And never left any will. I just don't want Iris to get involved too. But Iris says she is now the guardian. Monsters now have to listen to her. Furthermore, it only took her 2 minutes to earn a few $1,000s. She also said that after completing this case, she would sell the bar. But her father said it was completely useless. Just sign your name on the red book. You will fall under the curse. Until the monster completely controlled Iris's consciousness, there is only one way. That is, stop calling monsters. Just before the words finished, the timer suddenly rang. Father also started to become cold. The next second, the whole person caught fire again. He told Iris not to come closer. He then apologized to Iris and her child. Seeing that, Iris immediately put on her hat. After a conversation with her father, Iris began to get scared, intending to burn the paper she signed, but as a result, house documents cannot be burned. Only now did she fully understand. I couldn't get out anymore. Completely fell under this curse. That night, my best friend also brought the documents back, looked everywhere but couldn't find Iris, called but no one answered the phone. No one knew that Iris was lying drunk on the bathroom floor. My best friend immediately went to the basement to search. As a result, there was a clock on the ground. She put the lamp on the ground and picked up the watch. Just when she was bewildered and didn't understand what was going on, then a monster suddenly appeared behind her. She seemed to sense something. She turned around sharply, the backpack and documents fell to the ground. The surprising thing is, the monster never attacked her, but just tear off a piece of newspaper and swallow it. Her best friend was scared and tried to run away. Then the monster behind suddenly called her to stop. When she turned around, she discovered that the monster had transformed into the form of a man. The man asked her why she brought herself back. Apparently this person was the first owner of the bar 400 years ago. After that, her friend also asked questions to clarify the issue more. Turns out, 400 years ago, two cousins discovered a woman in a mountain cave. This woman possesses the ability to bring others back to life. The two brothers immediately tried to use this woman to make money. But as a result, they were rejected by the woman. They then used measures to suppress her, and gave her the title of witch. As a result, the angel of death did not keep her. The woman rose again from the dead. Then she began a cruel revenge. Diseases and epidemics began to spread everywhere. The house was also so damaged that no grass grew. So to prevent this disaster, the two brothers began to impose a dark curse on the woman. They completely trapped her in a black hole. But after several centuries, the descendants of the two brothers opened the grave again, and once again abused her power. But what they don't know is the more they use her, she has more power. It eventually leads to being unable to control it anymore. Everyone is destroyed. Only one guardian remains to communicate with the outside world. Just sign the contract on the bar ownership book. That person will inherit the curse and become the witch's master. Hearing this, his best friend was completely surprised and said to the man, Iris signed the contract without even knowing. In that situation, the man felt shocked. Turns out you're not the owner of this bar. Then I can only apologize. Wasted too much time talking to you. Then he slowly walked towards his best friend. Horrible screams rang out at the same time the tunnel door was closed. A few hours later, Iris also sobered up. Suddenly she heard the phone ring. She quickly picked up the phone. A close friend's cry for help rang out from the other end of the line. My best friend said I was in the cellar. Tell Iris to quickly come to the rescue. Iris put down the phone and immediately went to the basement to turn on the light. She called her best friend's name a few times. Suddenly, I heard my best friend's voice coming from deep inside the cave. Iris quickly took the lamp and wanted to enter. But as soon as he reached the mouth of the cave, he stopped walking. She remembered what her father told her to never go in there. But think back a bit. My best friend is still inside. She can't help but save lives. So Iris mustered up the courage to step in. She followed her best friend's voice deeper into the cave. Sure enough, around a corner Iris found her best friend. However, when she brought her best friend back, accidentally broke a jar below, and discovered that this appeared to be an altar. As a result, after only walking a few steps, I saw a dead body around the corner. She mustered up the courage to go ahead and check. When she saw her face clearly, Iris was immediately shocked. This person is her best friend. This time she finally learned that her best friend had died a long time ago. And her best friend behind her is also the reincarnation of a witch. Suddenly a shrill scream from her father rang out from inside. When she turned around, that fake best friend has disappeared and is nowhere to be seen. Then I saw something crawling above the basement. Monsters are extremely ugly and disgusting. This scared Iris to death. She rolled over and crawled out of the cave. Luckily, Neil arrived in time and took Iris out. And also because of the words on the stairs that monsters cannot pass. The death of her best friend made her very heartbroken and blamed herself. If it weren't for the fact that she wanted money so desperately, her best friend wouldn't have died tragically either. So she decided to seal the cave entrance forever. No one can take advantage of her abilities anymore. Neil saw that she seemed a bit emotional. So I secretly gave her some sedatives, so she can rest assured and sleep better. But when Iris woke up again, it was the middle of the night. She got up and took a sip of water. And found out Neil was no longer there. She just realized that Neil might have given her the medicine. So she quietly went into the basement. She heard Neil's voice negotiating with the monster. Neil said that the house ownership certificate was in his name. Now he is the guardian here. So monsters now have to obey him. Only to see the monster shook his head. Next, Neil spoke again. He just wanted to see his wife again. Style has no time limit. At that time he will completely set her free. This time the monster also agreed with Neil. The monster then took off his mask and took the form of his wife. This time, his wife also told the reason why the car accident happened at that time. It turns out she drove away because she had an argument with Neil. As a result, the car was halfway there. Then suddenly felt dizzy and lightheaded. The wife suspected that Neil intentionally made a fool out of her when he suspected her of having an affair. This eventually led to her car accident. Neil also spoke in a very agitated manner. At that time I had a baby. He just wanted his wife to calm down for a while so as not to affect the baby. Unexpectedly, she drove away. With an unstable spirit, an accident occurred. After speaking, Neil immediately raised his hand to gently caress his wife's face, still saying I love her. Neil's wife was also touched by his words. Then tell Neil to go harm his guardian, Iris, so they can be together forever. Neil was also completely fascinated by the other person. But he still retained some sanity. Tell myself I can't do that. But in the next second, his wife's face turned pale. Then tell Neil that he heard all their conversation. She is right behind him. Iris heard this and immediately knew she had been discovered. Turn around and start running away. Neil also chased behind frantically. He was completely bewitched by the monster. In my heart I just want to be with my wife forever. Seeing that, Iris immediately used her final self-defense move. Use your hand to squeeze his eyes, then turn around and attack Neil and run away. She then ran to the roof to call the police, and Neil also chased after. Iris was completely scared now. She begged Neil to spare her. Not listening to her request, Neil immediately attacked Iris. She was about to suffocate. Right at this important moment, Iris immediately picked up a piece of tile and self-defense attack on Neil's head, then quickly climbed down the ladder to escape. At this moment, Neil suddenly grabbed both of Iris's hands. He then smiled slightly at Iris, and without hesitation let go. Iris began to freely fall below the road surface and immediately collapsed. Next, Neil picked up Iris' phone. He carried Iris back to the basement. Neil put Iris' phone on the chair. The monster picked up the phone and swallowed it, accompanied by howling afterward. Neil once again took out the monster mask, transformed into Iris's form. Iris said that he was crazy and intentionally harmed her. But Neil doesn't think so. He also said that she was the crazy one. Good things like this were placed in front of her. She wanted to destroy it. If you don't want to own it, then please transfer it to me immediately. But what Iris said next, again causing Neil to be completely shocked. I should thank you. My guardian is dead. Then I brought that person in front of you again. Don't you understand? The bar's ownership certificate still has my name on it. I'm still its owner. Now it is me and I am also it. As soon as the words ended, the light bulb suddenly turned off. Neil was also pulled to the cave entrance by a mysterious force. Next, the monster transformed into the appearance of Neil's mother. Come closer and return her hatred to him. Then transformed into his wife again and walked closer. Grabbed Neil's head and attacked him repeatedly. She then transformed back into Iris form. Pull up a chair and hold it high. At this moment, Neil also completely understood everything. It turns out that from the beginning, they were all under the mind control of monsters. Monsters constantly use their greed and lust to achieve their goals. In the end, the monster's ability grew larger and larger. Complete control of the guardian. Then merged with the guardian's soul. Finally, the monster was completely released. She is now both Iris and that witch. Step out of the place that has imprisoned you for the past 400 years. The bar also turned into ashes. This is the end of the Baghead movie. I'm a movie lover. See you next time.